Good evening, Mr. Bond fans, and welcome once again. So for Christmas this year, I received the LEGO Aston Martin DB5. So I used to be a big LEGO fanboy when I was a kid. It was one of my very favourite toys to play with. So the idea of Bond and LEGO mixing is something that my inner 8-year-old got very excited about when this thing was first released. I kind of held off getting it for a while. It was very expensive when it came out, as a lot of LEGO stuff is. But yes, I received it for Christmas. So for the first time in a good few years, I'm going to be building a LEGO set. And particularly as this one says expert on it, I'm expecting this to be a good few sittings. But with that being said, let's get building, Bond fans. As far as my personal LEGO qualifications go, I used to play with it a lot as a kid, and I have definitely built a couple of Star Wars sets in my adulthood, but when it comes to expert level, this is definitely the most advanced set I've ever taken on myself. As such, I'm looking at this more from the perspective of a novice LEGO fan and more of a major Bond fan. How much is a Bond fan going to get out of purchasing this set? Well, opening up the box, the build is split into 4 phases. So 4 bags that you then open up to find more bags. And there are so many pieces in this set. Breaking up the build into the various phases makes absolutely perfect sense, particularly as the instruction booklet that comes in the box is 168 pages long, which is pretty daunting to someone like myself. Fortunately, there are so many great James Bond podcasts around that whenever I settled in to start building this, I would often have one of those on to keep me company. The booklet is really cool though, and tailored to the Bond fan, with little facts and details and stills littered throughout. The whole thing is presented as a For Your Eyes Only style document from Q Branch, which I thought was a really cute touch and shows that LEGO have really embraced the James Bond theming with this. So the build itself took me a good few hours. It was a few sittings over several days. I didn't build this thing in a rush or anything, and like I say, I am a novice when it comes to this level of LEGO. And there were definitely times where I would use a wrong piece and only realize somewhere further down the line, and then I have to kind of backtrack. And I totally did that thing where I'm looking around for a piece and I can't find it, and then I start cursing LEGO that they clearly missed a piece from this set, and damn you, I'm gonna have to get in touch with them, I'm gonna email, get on the phone, and then I just start looking again, and then I eventually find it, of course. But the instructions were really great and clear, and for something as complex as this, which involves construction of workable gadgets with flips and switches and all that kind of stuff, it comes together remarkably well. I thought I'd be more aware of the building of all the flips and switches and all that kind of stuff when I was putting it together. Like, I thought I would be very much aware that, okay, this is a gadget part and I'm going to do this and it's going to flip there. But for the most part, it was only really when I'd completed a certain bit that I'd be like, oh, so that's what that's for. Oh, that's pretty cool. And I'm happy to say that I got all the gadgets working, which I was actually kind of surprised myself about. I was also quite pleased to not have had any trouble with some of the smaller, more fiddly pieces, like the dashboard dials and some of the stickers, which are always the most tense part of a LEGO building experience. But after a Vesper or two to steady my nerves, things came together remarkably well, I think. It's a small mercy that so many of the pieces that end up hidden away are actually really brightly coloured, because there are so many grey, silver and black pieces that it does take some deciphering, and when they're, bright yellow or blue, it certainly helps. Like I say, there were a good few times where I'd be scanning and it's like the pieces were equipped with some kind of cloaking device, but of course, you eventually find them in the end. Okay, that's the build, but obviously this thing is going to exist on your shelf for a good long while after you've put in the hours building it. So, most important thing probably is, how does it look? Well, pretty great, I think. It's tough trying to replicate the Aston Martin look in LEGO form. These are very smooth and curvy cars, and LEGO is obviously known for being square blocks, but the two styles do come together very well here, I think. I often think that Aston Martins look like they've been poured rather than built, and while I can't say that same thing about the LEGO version, it is a bit blocky in places, and yet it's nice that it is retaining some of that natural LEGO quality. What would be the point of building a LEGO DB5 if they were going to hide the fact that it was LEGO? The only aesthetic element that I'm not entirely sold on are the headlights. It ends up creating a face with the grille, and it looks like the car is like baring and gritting its teeth at me, and I think maybe more bespoke piece headlights might have helped improve this. Shape-wise, though, it's a really lovely model, and it even rolls really smoothly, which is nice. But the main attractions, of course, are the gadgets, and they really do pack a lot of features into this. Firstly, there are several things going on inside the car, not exactly a showcase feature necessarily, but if you open up the door, it has this little phone inside, and if you turn this, you get the trekking screen, and one of my favorite features on the whole thing is that when you push back the gear stick, it triggers the machine guns in the front of the car, and the mechanism is so smooth and reliable. I absolutely love it. The front bonnet opens up to reveal the engine, which is a pretty cool bit of detail that definitely wasn't necessary to the overall package, but a cool thing all the same. The revolving license plates are present and correct, featuring all the classic registrations and an extra one for good measure. Personally, I always have the BMT red present on my various models. There's just something really classic about that one. Then there are the tyre slashers. These are a bit more fiddly, and it's a shame they couldn't have worked out a smoother way to incorporate this feature, as you need to take out some extra pieces from the boot and do this little extra bit of construction, which can be a bit fiddly, and it's hardly arduous, but it's not as smooth as it perhaps could have been. Then there's the bulletproof screen, which is the only gadget on mine that I don't think I got quite working as well as it could. Mine acts as if it has a slight stiffness coming on. Maybe I put some pieces together a little too tight or something, but it always needs a little extra help from me to get back into place. And finally, there is of course the ejector seat, which works amazingly. This thing really flies out. It was the feature I was most nervous about getting to work, but it actually works fantastically every time, and it's important to note though that the roof of the car needs to be slid back in order to really work the ejector seat. This isn't like in the film where the roof disengages completely. There's a mechanism where you need to pull the roof back in order to have the seat working properly, which, while not being film accurate, actually didn't bother me at all. Overall, it's a really lovely bit of work and sits well amongst my eclectic Bond car collection with an identity all of its own. I don't know if we'll ever get anything like this from LEGO again. Maybe a more up-to-date Aston Martin, possibly even a Lotus Esprit, but even if this is the only Bond licensed bit of LEGO we ever get, I'll be thankful for that. It was a nice experience for me to revisit some of my childhood in the building of this thing, and it'll be sitting proudly on my shelf for a very long time to come. That's it for this time, Bond fans, but before you go, please consider hitting the subscribe button below if you haven't already to stay up to date on all the videos I'll be uploading to this channel in the future. You can also follow me on my various social media pages. I have a Facebook and a Twitter, which I have left links to in the video description box below, as well as links to my Patreon page, which if you want to support this channel and throw a couple of extra quid my way a month and be involved in deciding which non-Bond reviews I put up on this channel, please do follow the link to my Patreon page below. And until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.